right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 273. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? DRJY C4K says hi. How's it going? Okay, so for today's daily update, there are no updates on the anticipated appeal. I still do not have a case number, so that's there's no updates on that. I actually sold 2 new block types, sponsored block types last night. So there's, I think I had added 4 new block types to the store, so there would be 2 more for sale. And so I have to get those 2 new block types added to the game. And today I continued working on the next long form video. So there was one more difficult scene from the intro, and I filmed that today successfully. ETA on the next video. I think I'll probably set it at least a week on the order of a couple times. I mean, at this point, I think it's still at least a week. But I'm getting the scope is getting a bit more complete. The intro is basically, I think I might actually just film like a couple extra easy scenes. Maybe I'll get that done tomorrow. And then that's it for the intro. And then for the scripted part, there's about 50 lines. I'm probably like 60% done writing and finalizing those lines. Then I have to say them, which will probably take a couple hours. And then I have to edit them in, and then there's a couple extra graphics for the next scripted part. All right, so tonight we will continue with work on the terminal block mining simulation game. So we did a push and pushed the latest changes. So the current focus is continuing on the refactoring arc and development arc of adding a couple new frames to facilitate adding new connections at runtime. And so now I have an actual input form, but I have yet to actually use it. And this is all going to hopefully work together with the single and multiplayer code. Let's try the multiplayer client. Theoretically, it should look exactly the same. At the moment, the only way I can tell the difference that's probably because it's not deployed. Now it should work. All right, this looks the same. This is the multiplayer client. Shosaki says, evening. How's it going? Going okay? Excellent. Can't believe it's day 273 already. Time flies. Yeah, it does. All right. So what I want to think about here is a kind of seamless way to add these connections. I'm going to eventually get rid of this client-server interface class. And an insight into why VR into why VR hasn't taken off. VR. I haven't really even thought about trying VR. I know that the like VR chat is pretty crazy. For some of the videos I saw, I could see the appeal of like for teenagers who just want to play around and like wear silly avatars and make fun of each other. People are so used to having a curated experience. TikTok TV channels. VR requires you to be active. Yeah, that might actually be that sounds like that could actually be a pretty productive insight. If you work for a game company who's trying to push VR, you might be able to. You probably would. I could imagine like trying out VR or something, and then you if you like log into a world or something, and if there's nobody there, or if everyone there is boring. I'm not sure what the process, what the experience would be like. That actually would be a kind of interesting experience if VR worked in a way where if the algorithm learned a bit about you, if you came into it from the start and it would put you in like a club or something like that where it knew about you, so it put you in one room that was designed specifically for people you'd find it interesting. I'm not sure how it actually works. Maybe they already do stuff like that. I guess you could probably just look for something, but like you say, a curated experience. Could be in the wrong place, the wrong time, with the wrong people. The action could simply be behind you. TikTok camera's always focused on the action. Yeah, I don't know where things are heading. Everybody's got brain rot. Everyone's watching TikTok all the time. Okay, maybe I'll focus on single player first. Yeah, I guess these connections those would be added when I add an authorized connection. So maybe I'll go ahead and work on that. Atrophy of exploration agency. Yeah, I kind of wonder about how much of an actual problem it is, because obviously my formative years I'm kind of one of the last generations to grow up fairly normally, and I do hear there's tons of videos about teachers talking about how the kids all have brain rot and they can't read, and they're really stupid and have no attention span. But I also kind of wonder, sometimes it's a lot of adults, some specific adults kind of like to revel in how awful their students are. They'll be like, you never believe how dumb this student was. They did this thing that was really dumb. But sometimes if the student does something that's really dumb, it's because the teacher is not very good, and they need to actually explain things better, or explain things at all. People aren't seeking out their own value. Yeah, we're definitely accelerating toward something interesting in the future. This is a very long class name. Google AI account 1 says laptop computer, beep, monitor, boop. What's the last one there? I can't tell what that icon is. I know that'll make this very simple. I'll just make it so you specify I'll list out the world connections, and then I'll let you specify the number, the index number of it, of the one you want. Freeman 37. Books online, documentation, or YouTube tutorials for learning new concepts. That's a pretty open-ended question. Books and online documentation or YouTube on learning new concepts. Like the general idea of just like how to learn better, learning how to learn better. I don't think I've ever. Well, I don't know. So, if you actually want like how to learn better, there's probably like self-help books and stuff. But I don't have any specific recommendations. Kinds of these concepts. Yeah, my question exactly. I mean, these days, for open-ended questions, ChatGPT is pretty great. Like if you want to learn about something, you find it hard to know what question to ask. ChatGPT is pretty great at that. Because you can't learn everything there is about computer language just from tutorials. Well, it depends. Depends what you want to learn. If you want to like completely learn the language, you can look into like the language grammar itself and like how to write a compiler for that language. If you want to dive super deep on like to completely understand a language inside out. Learn how to write a compiler for that language, and look up some tutorials on really bizarre or confusing syntax for the language in question. Personally, I find it interesting to learn things by programming, some implementation, representation. So that does tend to then focus on the things that are more easily done that way. Yeah, I guess it depends what your objective is. There's an infinite amount of stuff to learn, infinite amount of languages and stuff. And I said about, you could try writing a compiler for a language, for any modern language, maybe the initial revision of a language. It's an approachable feat that one person might be able to write. For a university, fourth year university course, it's not uncommon to write a basic compiler for one of these languages. And it's the hardest course, but it's doable. But for a modern programming language that's super optimized and everything, the task of writing a compiler that covers all aspects of the language is requires multiple people. So the point there is that the amount of stuff to know for one modern language is it's bigger than what can fit in one person's mind. There's just too much knowledge out there, so you have to focus on. You can ask why you're learning it. Is it to get a job, or is it to challenge yourself, or is it because you want to maybe write some games or something? If you could start with that objective first, then that'll dramatically increase your odds of success. Getting to know the limitations of the programming language is pretty important. If you want to be successful in my project, you can't code a system driver in HTML or JavaScript. Yeah, that's true. I guess what you're maybe referring to is like what the limits are of, or like not knowing what questions to ask, because I guess there's probably lots of people who just start programming, and then someone's like, "Hey, do you want to learn how to program?" And they start programming JavaScript, and nobody tells them that that's not a language for system drivers, or and then it becomes really hard for that person to understand like how automated machines can run when there's no API in JavaScript to access that. For that, I don't know. There's probably that's an area where I think AI is pretty good. When you have a question, you don't even know how to ask the question properly. Stable Thinker says, what is meaning of life? That's a good question. M3 says, you are in Canada. I am indeed in Canada. Snowy Canada, where it is currently snowing outside. Once again, we've had snow like almost every single day for like 30 days now. Wait, why does that happen? I think I have a naming problem. Lucky that I'm in Canada. How come? What is the meaning of life? I don't know, that sounds like an incomplete sentence. Lucky about snow? Snow is fun when you're a kid. And it's fun to experience. I think everyone should experience some snow in their life. But eventually, like when you have, when you live up here in Canada, you get 6 months of snow every year. And then after a couple of weeks, you're like, I'm tired of this. I want to go back to the sunny, nice beach weather. Must be quite some work cleaning the car of all that snow. Fortunately, I don't have a car. I haven't had a car since high school. But it definitely is a huge burden for people. And if you live in a rural area, you got to plow your driveway. Didn't see it something like 15 years. There is none. If life had a meaning, life would be limited. If life had a meaning, life would be limited. Life is limited. You're not legally allowed to live more than 120 years. I snowed where I live 5 years ago. I went out and started making a snow fort. But turns out it's pretty hard. Bend down, grab snow, stand up. Yeah, it's nice if you get. It's easier if you get tons of snow. Apparently, there was some area in Russia that got like completely insane amounts of snow. I saw some videos of people digging out their cars, and it's like a tunnel, basically. We need a how to make a RAM video. It's pretty similar to the how to make a CPU video. You just gotta put different patterns in your wafer. RAM shortage was really annoying because I was planning to build a PC. Yeah, actually, just before I started the stream, I was clicking around and I saw a video of someone saying they had pivoted their they were doing like repairing stuff, and then they decided to pivot into like refurbishing kind of older used PCs and stuff, and scrounging them together to like put into to like cobble together parts to make laptops they can sell. And they're having a big problem because they can't get RAM, and then when they try to like buy, like it's really cheap to buy all other parts of the PC, and apparently they were getting some parts from someone else, and it was cheaper for that like middleman to they stopped selling them laptops with RAM, and because it was more profitable to take the RAM out of the laptop and then sell the laptop without RAM, and then they would sell the RAM separately, so they can get a bunch of laptops but there's no RAM for them. It's kind of weird. I don't really understand why. I mean, I guess I'd have to dig more into the knowledge of like the actual fab space and the competition. But I would assume that like the feature size for RAM is probably, it would be on par with, or maybe even less than, the cutting edge for CPUs. So it's not obvious to me why like have GPUs. So RAM, I've heard, has gone up like 4 times. Have CPUs gone up 4 times, and have GPUs gone up 4 times? It almost seems like there's I don't know, every few years they're like, hey, let's have a shortage of something. We'll just pretend there's a shortage of it to drive up the price, get some money. Didn't mean limited in terms of time. I mean, life would have limited purpose. If life's meaning was to make a i3 processor, we would never have i5. Well, that's a pretty specific meaning. It can't just be about manufacturing a specific thing. There's definitely more to it than that. How much money did you get from the how to make CPU video? Or do you not have monetization on? I think for the first like year or something, like I think I released that video before my channel was monetized. So for the first few months, it was not monetized, but that doesn't matter because it only would have made like $3 that time. So for the first, I think 2.5 years, it only got like 66,000 or something views. So only like, actually I don't even know how much, but it was like $40 or something back then. But as it is now, it's basically around, it's just a little bit more than $1,000 per million. So the CPM is quite low in that video, which makes sense because it's so short. But yeah, so the total revenue, I haven't checked recently, but it would be around $20,000, which is pretty good for that one video. But the annoying thing is it took like 2 years for it to even start getting traffic. So I published it for 2.5 years or something. It made $0 or like $40 or something. The other annoying thing is that it is the only video on my channel that makes any revenue by like 10 times. The next leading video makes like it's probably even more than that, like 1/40th or something of the revenue. And the other annoying thing is when I release new videos, the new videos don't get views, but as soon as I put out a new video, the how to make a CPU video just starts getting more views, it's like I have to make videos which will never be watched. So the how to make a CPU video will just get more. Didn't mean about them. I mean, if meaning was specific, there would always be a better meaning. You could have a general meaning. It could have like, the meaning of life is to be happy. Because then you could like become happy, and you could just chill in that state for a really long time. Although I don't think that's the meaning of life. I stopped using AI IDEs like Cursor, went back to copy-paste small chunks of boilerplate into web LLM bots like Claude, then manually fine-tune the code myself. Anyone feel the same way? I have not yet played around with them, but I don't know about since I don't keep up with the LLMs, I haven't really seen how much they've gotten better. But I have been continuing to use AI for image generation, and I've noticed in the past like few months the image generation has gotten like really it's gotten quite a bit better in the last few months. Like the amount of complexity you could ask for is quite impressive. It is high up on my to-do list to actually dip my toes into the AI coding soon, once I get the next video out. I feel for some reason that since the CPU video was 4 years ago now, if you put out a how to make a GPU video or something, you'll get pretty good views. I was thinking about making a how to make a CPU 2. I definitely have an idea for it. The thing is, I have a lot of videos on my channel that I put a lot of work into, but they just don't get views. And I have some other, there's definitely a certain style. There's definitely a certain style to that video. But I have some other videos that I think are the amount of work that's in them is of similar significance. Maybe not quite as good, but really throws me off because I put a decent amount of work into them, and they don't. It's not like they get like half as many views or something. They get like way less, like less than 1% of as many views. What if it's because people are doing the same as I do? So when they see a channel, they recognize, they click videos. Click sort by popular, then click top video. I'm not sure. There's something going on in the algorithm. There's people commenting, finally it's the sequel. Yeah, I'd like to make a sequel, but not enough hours in the day. The prompts add a lot to the CPU video. May need to get similar prompts. That's the thing, is there's a finite number of things I can do. Like there's only so many things that require a chromium etched photolithographic quartz mask. For AI LLM code, I personally feel it hasn't changed in the past year. Still pretty dumb. It's good making simple chunks of code, which I can then assemble myself. Yeah, I've kept up with like other people's the videos that they watch on, or the experiments people do on like trying these agents and stuff. And it seems the well, I guess the latest, innovation you could call it, is that they now have like agentic thinking now, which is basically like use the LLM but do so in a loop. So it'll it kind of just goes off and it does a bunch of like subqueries on its own, and so that kind of fixes some of the problems, like if you'll say like how many R's are there in strawberry or something, and then it'll give you an answer, and then so you can then take that input and then cycle it back into itself and ask itself like, is this correct, and then verify everything, and then if it can kind of try to go a few more steps. And when you do that with coding, I think it can do like a little bit more introspection, but it's still not, it can still result in like ridiculous results that are totally wrong. But I guess it still pushes things forward a bit. If you want to see when it gets views, just look at Mr. Beast. I would call it the dark side of YouTube. Yeah, the more I learn about the YouTube algorithm, the more I think there's definitely a purely automatic algorithmic algorithm with no, like, I think if you start a new channel and you upload a video, you're getting like pure algorithm, where it's like there's no human in the loop. But I think the more popular the higher up your videos get, and the more popular your channel becomes, I think there starts to become more like human-based curation, which and who knows how those objectives work. I feel like it's just random videos that get pushed by the algorithm. How to make CPU is a bit random. See on your recommended. Yeah, I mean, there's I have to assume that like that video was just explicitly marked. There's probably like a human that reviewed it or watched it or something and said like, okay, this is the video we want. We want this to get millions of views, and then they just clicked a button, and instantly the views overnight just like started going up like a rocket. What I might do is write pseudocode, tell the AI, please convert my pseudocode to JavaScript. Yeah, it seems like that's kind of that's I think Primogen did a video recently where he talked about his use of these like agentic coding tools, where it actually does kind of sound kind of interesting and exciting, where you'd basically like write descriptions of what you want in the software, and then you would give this agent, you would just let it spin away and try to like figure it out, and it would come up with something by itself. And it might be garbage, but like occasionally it'll come up with something that's like pretty close to the end outcome you want. And since you didn't actually do anything, you just wrote like, a paragraph of what you wanted. If it's actually good enough, then you can say, oh, I will actually take over this project and like, move it to completion. Interestingly, pseudocode done by AI tends to just be Python. Any content have a score. When a score range is good, can be upgraded by a human mod. Yeah, I assume. I mean, it makes sense for it to work that way. If there was no humans in the loop, people would figure out how to game the system. from now on, I will definitely regard ChatGPT as a learning tool. Yeah, I think it is. I guess I haven't used it a lot for research, but it is like occasionally when I've used it, if you just say like, hey, I'm interested in learning about Python programming. Can you tell me a list of topics and resources to look at? And I'll be like, certainly. And then just, spews all this very specific stuff that's right on point. Whereas years ago, it would be, and you can even ask it like, in a way, it's almost like the opposite of the early search engine. Like for an early search engine, you had to search for, you had to know the exact term. Like it was closer to a string match. But I find the large language models are actually better. You get better results when there are more degrees of freedom, and there's more when the large language model has more liberty to just like do whatever, which I guess makes sense because it's not designed to produce precise results. So when you ask it open-ended stuff like, I'm learning about Python, what are some things that I should be careful of? What are some common mistakes that I should be careful of avoiding? If you ask it that, you'll definitely get like a really good result. I asked AI to help build some WordPress block theme components. AI failed horribly because there isn't enough documentation on the web or to make WordPress block themes. Yeah. Even though WordPress is trying to push block themes as the primary theming system. Yeah, I found like for some of the graphics that I made, I found it's actually like if I'm doing if I'm trying to present some information, I would make some like titles and graphics and just like text and try to style it nice. And I found ChatGPT is actually very good for doing that. Like if you just have like a if you could say like I'm making a sign for my new video game, please make me a nice transparent PNG image of a sign. Advertisement sign says like block mining simulation game on sale now, and then put a sale sign on it and style it with fancy text. If you tell it that, it'll give you very good results. And what I like about it is you can just copy and paste the exact same query and ask it like 5 times, and it'll give you back like 5 different results, which are you can just pick the one you like. And I found that like sometimes it'll give me results that are so good, I'm like, wow, this thing really is like it's doing everything for me. And so then I'll get more aggressive and I'll ask it to do more in the prompt, and then it starts like giving crap results and cuts things off. And but I find it does save time where I can if I'm making like a complicated graphic, if I'm get a bit more specific and say like make an icon that represents this kind of thing, and then I can kind of manually stitch them all together, and like some text that says this and that. And do you think it would have the potential to replace Stack Overflow? I think it has. I think I saw. I mean, you can Google for it. There's I think I saw a graph someone had of like, I think I might have been a number of questions asked on Stack Overflow, and it's just like a cratering down to 0 because everyone just asks one of these large language model tools, which of course, ironically, was completely trained on Stack Overflow data. I think DeepSeek have more elasticity, free plan. Gives lots of info. Didn't replace it, it consumed it. Yeah, that's probably a better description. I saw that graph too. Yeah. Number of questions on SO has fallen below year one. Wow. Yeah, I mean that's the perfect example of, like, some people are AI naysayers and say like, oh, it's not a big deal, but there are things. It is changing the world in some pretty monumental ways already. Hence all the lawsuits Sam Altman and co have to deal with. Yeah, it is kind of crazy how they can just, like, they invent a tool that literally just steals everything, and it's somehow okay. And we're just like, oh, this is pretty cool. Every time I see someone talking about AI, they say I can't do anything. Almost every time I use AI for something, it's a perfect first try. It's getting better every day. What's interesting, though, is that the platform that Stack Overflow was built on had more than just code on it. Wonder what happened to all that. The platform Stack Overflow was built on had more than code on it. I guess I'm not really familiar with that. I just know about it as I Google for how to do something, and then there's a Stack Overflow post explaining it. Wonder when AI will run out of new data to consume. I think it's probably already subsumed, like, everything on the internet, but I think the next data stream, like the next exponential of learning, I think it's going to come from the prompts. So I guarantee you everything that you are doing with the prompt, like when you, they're probably monitoring like prompt abandonments, prompt like iterations, like when you ask something and then the next prompt is like you slightly altered the prompt. That's feedback that, okay, you didn't get what you wanted the first time, so this is what you actually wanted. And if you loop all that back in this training data, and then even in the image generation, every once in a while, it kind of seems like it uses like more cycles sometimes, and I'll get like 2 images and both of them are really good, and it'll ask me like, which one of these do you prefer? I host Olama locally now, so I don't share my data. Yeah, that's going to be increasingly important in the future. Stack Exchange. Oh yeah. That was the name of the general platform. Well, I guess is Substack, is that at all related to Stack Overflow? It seems that the graphic design seemed to remind me of, and it has the word stack in it. Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange. I now host my own local repos for all my code projects. I'll use Git EA, same features as GitHub, to local CI/CD. Yeah, anything I care about, I host locally as well. I make sure to get backups. You could sell your data instead, if you have a lot of it. Okay, in this frame, so there'll be a frame to open a world connection, and then one to open an authorized world connection. And eventually, this will be updated to list out the active world connections. For how long have you been streaming now? About an hour. I usually start around 10. I go for about an hour. So we're nearing the end of the stream. Got a bunch of old Dell computers, so I can create my own Proxmox cluster. Nice. And use Terraform and Ansible to spin up VMs. Wow, that sounds like fun. To have all that hardware to play around with. All right, I made some incremental progress tonight. So I now have, there's these two frames. I'm thinking about the way to do it. I think what I'll do, basically I want to make it so that the way the existing single and multiplayer connections are set up go through these instead of being like manually set up. And to start off with, I'll probably get this form working first. Because the difference is now it's going to be possible to have, I need to set up the client and server. Yeah, there's just many different cases when, so I can have one connection to a world and two different authorized connections to that world, which represents, like if I have two windows open with two different players connected to the same local or remote world, and then that will that'll give sufficient generalization to support multiplayer. All right, that'll be it for tonight. So we'll be back tomorrow night for day 274. Have a good night.